And finally, we are starting to explore our BSS 3CX adapter module. As I mentioned, since it's derived from BSS adapter external DB, most of the things already were implemented for us. So we just need to take care of the correct mapping of attributes from the way how they're stored in the database, the 3CX naming and format, into the format acceptable by WebTrit. And to make it a bit more easier, there's a class called Attrmap, which just defines a mapping of keys in one dictionary to another one. So it's old key means how the attribute was called in the original data set. So in 3CX, it's called number, extension number, and in our new object, it becomes named login. If it's not just renaming, if we need to do something more advanced, we can also supply a parameter called converter to attribute map, and then we'll just provide our own function, which can do conditionals like we do it here, can just set it to a specific value or anything else we need to do. And we have 3 separate lists of those mappings, one for generic user attributes, one for attributes related to numbers, because they will go into an object which is inside of user info, and attributes related to SIP credentials. Okay. So our init method, we read our configuration parameters, like default value for SIP server, SIP port, and we actually add to this mapping, we add there few entries which will basically provide this SIP server object always to be returned. And we initialize our connectors to the database. So our users are going to be stored in the collection named 3CX. Our one-time passwords will be stored in the collection called OTP, and sessions in the collection called sessions. That's it. Okay, yes, and we initialize our mailer. So we will have to implement the actual functionality to send outgoing emails. Let's talk about this at the very end. So name of our adapter, version which is returned our global variable. Capabilities, so we support login by password, we support login by OTP, and we support getting list of extensions. That's all. Some helper functions. Okay, and here verify password. Right, we override the default method to have something more specific to our case. So we extract value of service access PVD attribute and compare it with the provided password. And extract user ID, so we use extension number as user ID, so we use number, and email, extract user email, we use email address. Easy enough. Okay, here's the main function. So we receive DB data, which is basically a dictionary of the data as it is stored in Firestore, and we have to convert it. So first we do remap dictionary. It's method provided in our class in BSS adapter external DB, which takes this attribute map. So this list of how we want to map our attributes, and takes DB data as an input, and it provides us with the remapped dictionary. We do something very similar, but now we use a different mapping list and we produce SIP data. And now, instead of user data, we create an object SIP info using remapped SIP data. And similar to that, we remap number information, we create an object called numbers, and we assign it to our user data. And after that, we return a new object based on information we need. Easy enough. And produce contact object, it's similar, but this is when we retrieve other extensions in the database and we have to convert them into a contact object. So it's a bit less information, we don't need SIP credentials, but the principle is about the same. So we do remapping of basic attributes. Contact has an attribute called SIP status, where ideally we would show whether that extension is currently registered or not to the system. But for now, we don't want to mess, and because in order to do this, we'll have to actually connect to 3CX. Not really required, so we just assume it is registered, assign static value, again remap the number information, and produce an object. And since, as you remember, the BSS adapter external DB did not have implemented retrieve context method, so here we just implemented. So we iterate through all the entries in our database and our collection. We skip the one which is which equals to the our own ID, so we don't show our own record in the context, and we return the list. And the other methods, they just here implemented as pass, so the ABC class doesn't complain that we haven't implemented some method. Okay, the last method we need is send OTP email, because we do need to send the actual emails out. So what we have here, we have a helper class. Well, send emails abstract class, which just implements a constructor and the method send. And then we have Sendinblue email sender. So that's a popular SaaS platform, Sendinblue, which allows to send emails via APIs. It allows to design beautiful templates. So this is what we have. When we initialize, we create an object. We have to initialize it with the API key. That's the one which we get for Sendinblue, which allows us to use their API. And we create our API client. And method send. So we receive list of emails to be sent to, produce object which Sendinblue requires, and then attempt to send transactional email with the parameters. If everything's fine, we log in the message, the emails in the anonymized format, so we don't get in troubles with GDPR or something, and return true. Otherwise, we return false. And this is it. We are ready to start testing our 3CX adapter.